All right, Israel. Most High in Christ bless everybody. All right. So the name of today's topic is going to be who's going to heaven. Who is going to heaven? I think this, through the Spirit, this topic was chosen because of a lot of different things from different people that I have heard, and ironically, every one of them that I did hear was sadly mistaken. They kind of measured this world and the world to come, and that's where they make the final mistake. In this world, you can do whatever you want to. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 8. You can do whatever you want to. You can live the life that you choose to live. At least you can try to. Understand? And you don't want to. Most people, they don't want to be distracted from the world that they live in. They don't want to be corrected. They don't want to be told what to do. So I'm going to show you using the scriptures, 1 Peter 4. So we'll hold that and we'll come right back to that in 2nd Ezra 8. Okay, so 1 Peter 4, and I'll read and then I'll give it to somebody else a little later. 1 Peter 4:1, for as much then as Christ have suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. So the same way that the Messiah suffered, when the scriptures talk about sufferings, it's not only talking about him dying on the cross. It's talking about him having power over sin. You understand? That's what it's referring to. Like, now go to Hebrews 4:15. It's talking about him having power over sin. Scriptures say, arm yourselves likewise. Okay, read that, guys.
Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities.
Which he can. He understands. Our infirmities is our sicknesses, not like diseases and illnesses and joint aches and pains. No, this is like the mental side of things, because you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, so this class is also gonna discuss the strictness of the life in this truth. You know, I just titled it, Who's Gonna Make It Into Heaven, but it's really equally, or not even more, it's gonna go into like the strictness that it requires to make it. This ain't just, you can't just live, sucker, and breathe and make it. It's gonna take all your dying breath. It's going to take all your spirit. Remember the most, Christ said, with all your heart, all the soul. He said, with all, it's going to take you to exhaust every avenue in life to make it. And if you're trying to cut corners, and if you're trying to save yourself, he came out of his own mouth and said, you're going to lose, man. You're going to lose. He telling you that, man. You're going to lose. If you try and cut corners, you try and save your life, whosoever shall save his life shall lose his life. So, in Hebrews 4:15, for we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with what? The feeling of our infirmity, man. He knows how it is to be a man and want a woman. He knows how it is to be a man and have people to deal falsely with you and you want to chop them in half. He knows how it, you understand? He knows how it is to see the heathen rage and go unpunished. He knows everything. He touched with all of that, man. All right, go ahead.
But was in all points tempted.
But was in all points, every point that we were, every point, and yet the scriptures say, yet without sin. Yet without sin. He was in every point tempted. That's mentally. Yeah, that's mentally, man. You know, he mentally got fatigued, mentally got tired of the division in Israel, emotionally got tired, physically depleted, you know, wanted a vacation, everything that you can think of. This man was human. This man was not God, not the Most High. He was a man just like me. And he was in every point that I am tempted in, he was in every point himself tempted. Just like you as a brother, he was in every point tempted like you were. But he made a decision. And the decision that he made was to stay with the scriptures. Stay with the scriptures. What helped it, and see, like our last class was about sacrifice and how to sacrifice. What helped him was that he constantly sacrificed his own will for a greater purpose and a greater cause, to see and know and understand that his example would be a light unto the rest of the people. When you get on that type of level, you're approaching your Hawashai level. When you care about what you do, because what you do is going to reflect. What you do is going to reflect on somebody else. And when you care about what other people think of you, and you're going to hold yourself accountable and hold yourself to the highest standard that you know physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually that you can achieve on that day. When you can hold yourself accountable to the Most High and hold yourself up high and afflict yourself because you're trying to please the Most High, that's on some Yahushua type level. That's what we should be shooting. That's what we should be shooting for. There's too many people guilty with an explanation. You can explain. You can explain why you sinned. You can explain why you broke this precept. And have a vast understanding of what you think grace is. Grace is not for the rebel. Grace is not for for the stubborn. No. Grace is not for the stubborn. Grace is when you don't know. That's what grace is for, when you don't know. But when you do know and you refuse, you get beat with many stripes. So now which one is it? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? The answer is no. How shall we that are dead to sin live? If the Most High got you dead because of sin, how you gonna live? You can't live. So you do what you can, and do what you know, and do what you don't, and do what you understand, and the things that you don't know, that's what grace is gonna cover you. The things that you do know, you are held to a higher level, a higher standard of sin, that you purify yourself through the truth unto unfeigned love of the Most High and your brother. Purify yourself. That's 1 Peter 2:21. Seeing that you purify yourself. That's a job that you have to do. You can't do that making excuses. I got an excuse. This. Can't do that. You ain't gonna make it. So, verse 16, it says, let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we obtain mercy and find grace in the time of need. Did it say want? It says find mercy in the time of need. This brother or this sister needs grace. It's a difference between this brother or this sister that wants grace. See, if you continue to sin looking for grace, that means you need it or you want it. That means you wanted it because you continued in that sin. You wanted grace. You didn't need it. You clearly understood right from wrong. And you clearly made a choice. So many people be like, this is a mistake. Lying to yourself. It wasn't a mistake. You made a choice. Own up to it. So do you need grace? No, you need judgment. You need judgment so that you can understand the Most High is not playing. That's what you need. You need judgment. Now, the person that clearly does not understand, have not even heard of it, it's brand new to them. They're like, whoa, I didn't know that. They need mercy. They need mercy. You don't destroy a person that truly was in ignorance and is shining in all the other things that you give them. That's why I said, Job said, that which I see not, teach thou me, not that which I know already, correct me and then give me more grace. He said, that which I see not. That's Job 32 and 34, 34 and 32, one of them. Which one is it? 34 and 32. That which I see not, teach thou me. And if I'm wrong after you teach me, I will do it no more. So I'm going to walk in the law, not in the mentality of grace pertaining to this thing. Because now you have showed me what was good. That's a difference. It's time for us to understand that we have to be held to a higher level. We have to walk in the straightness, the strictness of the Most High. Because either you're going to be holy or you're going to be unholy. And I'm happy to tell you that this is normal. This is normal. This is not strict. This is normal. So, let's go back to 1 Peter 4. 1 Peter 4 and verse 1. For as much then as Christ have suffered for us in the flesh. Remember, he suffered, leaving us an example, all points tempted. Beautiful women came to him too. A band of brothers came to him too. Everything that you can encounter, money, riches, wealth, lifestyle. You understand? All of those things. arm yourself likewise with the same mind. So then you would have to understand that, listen, the scriptures might not in detail explain everything, every event, a play-by-play that this man did. But what you can do is you can reflect and you can say, hey, I'm going through this. I'm going through this. If the scriptures say that he was in all points, he went through this. So when you can examine, if you stumbling over this, you say, man, he didn't stumble over that. So now what am I to do? I have to do what he did. For he that have suffered in the flesh have ceased from sin. Okay? How do you suffer? By denying. See, when you found grace, when grace was given to you, you took advantage of that because somebody edified you. Once you got edified, you didn't repeat that thing. The Bible says, he that repeated the matter separated very friends. So now if you're going to continue to repeat yourself as being a repeat offender, being a repeat sinner, you're going to separate yourself from you and the Most High. Remember, if the Most High is inside of us, that's because the Most High is dealing with us. We're the sons and daughters of the Most High. And the things that the Most High wants us to do, we're doing it. And we're trying to be pleasing unto the Most High. So if the Most High tells us that and teaches us that whosoever covered his sins, no, that's not the one. What am I quoting? I mixed two of them together, didn't I?
No, you said whoever repeated the matter separated her.
Right, but the other one, what's the first part of that? I get it.
Yeah, it's another one.
Proverbs 17. Whosoever, yeah, I was saying it right. Whosoever covered a transgression, seek it. Proverbs 17 and verse 9. Read that.
This is Proverbs chapter 17 and 9. He that covered a transgression seeketh love, but he that repeated a matter separated very friends.
Right. This type of covering is not the type of covering as in, let me hide this thing. Remember how if we're in our nakedness and we will cover our nakedness, being in your nakedness is wrong. So then what would you do? That's being in a sin. So then what would you do? You will cover it up. So for you to cover that sin, like if I'm doing something against you and now I'm covering it up, not hiding it, but I'm refusing to do it. I'm trying to abstain from it. That's what it's referring to. Because it says, I'm trying to seek your love. So instead of, so it's like I'm really fighting to remain good with you. Okay? So whosoever covered a transgressor seeketh love. It's not in no shape, form, or fashion referring to I'm trying to cover sin. Like Proverbs 28 and 13. That's not that. Okay, I don't want to go through a million precepts to prove that to you. But the prime and perfect example is when we're naked, we're without the laws. And so you'd have to cover your nakedness. You understand? So once you cover your nakedness, now you within the laws. So it's just what's being said. Whosoever covered a transgressor, you doing it because you're actually seeking the love of that person. And the next precept is it says, but he that, so this is different, but he that repeated a matter. So he didn't cover it. You keep doing it. You keep doing it, man. What is it? You separated a very good friend of yours. So if you continue to sin, you're going to you're going to bring a separation between you and the Most High. Because you keep sinning. You cannot sin. This is a straight and narrow road path that we got to be on. You cannot be wavering. The Bible says, he that wavered, let not him think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. You see, so we cannot continue to just bob and weave, waver, and think that it's okay. It's not okay. Here's the precepts that show you that you're going to separate yourself from the Most High by sin. Now let's get Titus 2. Titus 2 and verse 11.
Titus chapter 2 and verse 11. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men.
Right, for the grace of the Father that delivers you from his judgment. Okay? Now, before we continue on that, we get taught the laws of the Most High. We get taught the commandments. We get taught the statutes. And we get taught the judgments of the Father. So with that being said, when you were in ignorance, you heard this word. So now the Most High, his objective is to deliver you from the judgment of that law, to deliver you from the judgment of that law that you was taught. You have many laws. You have 10 commandments. You have many laws. You have many statutes, and you have many judgments. So you have many opportunities to be given grace. But now, remember, we just read, should we what does it say? About repeated?
He that covered the transgression.
No, he that repeated. I'll get it. I got it. Repeated. You went to the wrong one. He that repeated a matter. So once grace covers you on that situation, does the Most High expect you to repeat that thing right there? Now, I speak as a man. I'm doing the best that I can. The Most High can speak for himself through his actions towards you. And if you're getting beat up, then you can understand that the thing that you're doing, the Most High is rebuking you for the thing that you're doing. So I'm saying, say for instance, the Most High correct you on eating unclean foods. You hear the scriptures, you under grace. You hear the scriptures, you begin, it make all sense. First, you got to make the sense of things. That's the natural order of things. So it makes all sense to you. Then you begin to apply it. And once you apply it, then it begins to work for you. A lot of times it doesn't just work for you. It happens in that order. Then it begins to work for you. At that point, you edify. And at that point, you're cleansed. And you're bringing forth fruit. Grace got you through that point. See, grace covered you. You good. Now do you need grace concerning that? You need grace concerning some other stuff, and I'm not here to take that away. But the other things, the one thing, your diet, you clear on that. Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? The answer is no. You can relate this to any old problem that you have. I just happen to use an unclean diet. Next time you go out and you eat some unclean foods, you get stuck in that. You develop a bad habit. Satan get on you. Now you end up with worms in your poop. Parasites. Parasites get in your intestines. They crawl, they'll be all up under your skin. They'll be eating at your muscles. You'll be deficient because they'll be eating the nutrients and vitamins in your food, the minerals. They can get on your heart, and they'll be eating into your heart. They can get up into your brain. They'll be wrapped around your brain. Judgment. You'll be asking for grace, and you don't need grace. You need judgment. You want grace. You want grace. But you know what the Lord told Paul? This is a perfect time. My grace is sufficient. I have given you a sufficient amount. Paul sought the Lord thrice for an infirmity. God said, no, my grace is sufficient. So for those of us that think that we can just continue to sin and grace got you covered, you're listening to the wrong people. You can get grace in someplace else and apply it. Someplace in your ignorance, somewhere on down the line in your ignorance, you're going to need it. But for this thing right here, an unclean diet, you know the difference. Go to Romans 6. You know the difference. Because the Lord saved you from that. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation, he saved you that. He saved you from eating an unclean diet. Romans 6:20, and then jump down to verse 22.
Romans chapter 6 and verse 20. For when ye were the servants of sin, ye were free from righteousness.
You was free from righteousness. When you were the servants of sin, you needed grace. Okay?
But now, being made free from sin.
But now, being made free from sin, you see that? We see it, everybody? Because now when you free from sin, that means you went through that cycle. You didn't just hear the scriptures. You didn't just hear it. It took time. And the Most High is very patient. To the Lord our God belong mercies and forgivenesses. He is long suffering. Everything that we were able to achieve and able to accomplish, the Most High sat back and he taught us well through the Spirit by using his servants. He taught you well. He made sure that you understood and that you brought forth fruit. Like it tells you in St. John 10 about being purged. Every branch in me that bringeth forth fruit, he do what? He purged it. You see? That it may bring forth more fruit. So the Most High he did a clean job on you. But now being made free from sin, go ahead.
And became servants to God.
And now you're serving, now you're doing it. Go ahead.
Ye have your fruit unto holiness.
Your fruit's supposed to be unto holiness. Now, if you go against that and you return backwards, you don't get grace, you get judged. That's what Israel got to understand. You get judged. That's why Paul said, knowing the terror of the Lord, we try and persuade men. So people don't know how the Most High works because you're too busy listening unto the wrong people. You listen to people in the world, or you listen to other sinners bringing forth an excuse. Finish it.
and the end everlasting life.
Go ahead.
For the wages of sin is death.
For the payment for you sinning, it never said grace. It says death. It says the Most High gonna pay you with death. For the wages of sin is death. All right. So now, lose that. Let's go back to was it 1 Peter 4? Let me finish Titus 2 and then we'll go back to 1 Peter 4. So Titus 2 and 11. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation have appeared to all men. So we understand that part. Remember, 10 commandments, many laws, many statutes, precepts, and judgments. When you go through them, you get grace for this. And I'm not just saying, Israel, you get grace one time. That's what it, that's kind of what it sounds like. So, but we all know that when we backslide in a sin, that sometimes the sentence is not executed speedily. It doesn't happen, speedily. I'm just speaking in general that you want grace. You did have grace in that thing. And then you brought fruit unto the Most High. And so, in order to get the obedience out of you, the Most High most likely is going to bring forth the judgment to you. He's going to bring forth a judgment. And not so much as more leniency. Because you will never learn to fear the Most High and obey the Most High under that type of, like Hebrews. I keep trying to get back to Titus. Go back to Hebrews 5. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. To us all. Strength and honor. Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 8.
Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 8. Though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered.
Though he were the son, though he were the man, yet learned he obedience by grace or by the judgments of the Most High. Because ain't nobody make himself but the Most High. You see. So by the things which he suffered, that's how it is with us. That's what I'm trying to explain. So we should have the fear of the Most High. When we're going to slide and repeat a matter, we should be thinking like, what's going to come next? Oh, I'm going to have this fun. But what's going to come next? That ain't going to be fun. You need to think about the Most High yet outdoing your worst days. You know the sickness that you hate? You ought to think about the Most High is going to outdo that sickness. The poverty, the stricken, the worst thing falling upon you. That's what the Messiah said. For Israel to repent unless a worse thing come upon you. Worse than what you have been through already. John 5 and 14. Y'all please share the video. Tag somebody in it.
This is John.
Go get your mothers, your fathers, your children, your sisters, your brothers, husbands, wives. Get them in here. John 5:14.
John 5:14. Afterward, Yahweh findeth him in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee.
Wait a second. Behold, thou art made whole. You see? That's the point. You are made whole. Sin no more. Or when the judgment come back, it's going to be worse than it was before. That's what the Most High is trying to tell us. That's what we need to have in our mind. Each and every last one, you, every man, every woman, and teach this to your children. That the situation is going to be worse. That moment that you sin, you're going to take pleasure, and it's going to be a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. It's going to be cheerful. It's going to be everything. But when you finish, and it's time for the Lord to bring forth judgment, it's going to be worse than you ever imagined. It's going to be unbearable. You're going to feel like this is not fair. You're going to be like, your ways are not equal. Let's go back to Titus 2 this time. We'll get it. Titus 2, I'll get it. Titus 2:11. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation. We read that so fast. Remember, we're not being saved from everything all at one time. Salvation is, it's a race of endurance. It's like a marathon. We got to run this race with patience. And every time something is brought to us or brought to light that we're doing wrong, the Most High gives us grace for it. The Most High gives us grace for it. And you get the salvation from that. You're supposed to build your mental Rolodex to study, to learn of the Christ, you know, and then people supposed to see a change. The latter part says, have appeared to all men. That means the Most High is giving it to all Israel. He's giving it to you. He's doing all Israel like that. The next part says, teaching us. Teaching us. So when you move from one situation of grace and you were taught, now it's time to work on something else. Now you got to be taught again. And that's why the prophets of God are coming to you with the laws, with the statutes, with the commandments, and with the judgments all over again. Not just one time, pertaining to one thing that you've done. You got to get taught again. You want more grace or you want judgment? Because when the Most High find us in sin, now he got to send unto you his servants, the prophets. So now you have to be taught again. Teaching us that denying ungodliness. So now they're going to describe to you what you're doing wrong. Denying ungodliness and worldly lust. Okay? We should live soberly. So all of these things must be explained for everything that we're doing. That we should live soberly, and that you should live righteously, and that you should live godly in this present world, meaning right now. You can't look now in the kingdom. In the kingdom, I'm going to be like this. No. You got to do it right now. Because if you can't do it now, you ain't kingdom bound. No, you're not kingdom bound. Who knows what the Most High said about a sinful man? Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 15 and 12.
Ecclesiastes.
Read the last precept.
Ecclesiastes chapter 15 and verse 12. Last precept.
Let the pages stop. Go ahead.
For he have no need of the sinful man.
So what did the Most High say? He have no need of the sinful man. So Israel, if we're going to continue in sin, the Most High doesn't need you. You can't say, I'm going to wait to the kingdom. I get into the kingdom, and then I'm going to get myself together. I'm going to be right in the kingdom. But in this world, you're being wicked. The Most High doesn't need that. The Most High isn't using that. Go back to 1 Peter 4 now. I think that's what we was trying to get to. First Peter 4 and 1, for as much then as Christ hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh, that means the person that feels some type of way, have ceased from sin. Now, upon feeling some type of way, we can't grudge. We can't get worse than we are by being stubborn. We can't get sensual. Wake up. Sensual. We can't get sensual. Sensual meaning very emotional about what we want to do, because then you're going to open up the door for Satan. When you get sensual, meaning when you get like really into your feelings, what then happens is you separate yourself. You separate yourself. You go into sin. You don't want to congregate. You don't want to be in the midst of the fellowship. Or you don't want to be in the midst of a fellowship that is going to check in on you in your business. So you separate yourself. You can't do that. I've seen it happen. That's why I'm speaking on it. I've seen it happen to brothers and sisters. Some will make excuses on why they want to break out, why they leaving. Some will wait till you offend them in that much. That much. The thickness of a piece of hair. They say, I'm out. They've been wanting to get out anyway, because remember, the word is like a two-edged sword. The scriptures come out and it's constantly cutting them. We constantly tell them how you can't smoke. Israel's main sins: you can't smoke, you can't fornicate. Can't smoke, can't fornicate. Can't smoke, can't fornicate. Can't steal, can't be lying. Gotta keep the high days. You should come to class and study. You understand? Gotta rule your spirit, gotta rule your house. Gotta keep your body under subjection. You gotta control your, possession. It's like, man, that's too much, brother. So soon as something is said that strikes a nerve, that person is like, I can't. They find an excuse. That's what the Bible says. A sinful man seeketh an excuse and find a way according to his will. That's what sinful people do. So when the scriptures say, he that has suffered in the flesh have ceased from sin, the suffer meaning you taking a loss. You understand that you're taking a loss. You feel some type of way. You can acknowledge that. You're doing that and you understand that, hey, at least I'm not sinning. Because when you read Wisdom of Solomon, the first chapter, the first verse, it tells you that we got to have a good heart towards the Most High. A good heart towards the Most High. So we got to think of the Most High with a good heart. We got to have that understanding that, hey, what the Most High is doing for me in my life, he's making me better. I understand he's keeping me from, a lot of people, I want to say the answer, but they don't be understanding that he's keeping me from destroying myself. A lot of people don't understand it. They just be like, why has it got to be his way? The Most High is keeping you from your worldly and ungodly lusts. And check this out, because this is what the Most High is trying to keep you from. Read verse 2.
Verse 2. That he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh.
In the flesh, go ahead.
To the lust of men.
To the lust of men. So now, the lust of these men, this is referring to not Israelite men, but all the world, all the United Nations in Psalms 83 that has conspired to get you under mind control. Have all 12 tribes under their mind control, doing what they say. This is what that's talking about. Go ahead.
But to the will of God.
Verse 3 gonna bring it out. Go ahead.
For the time past of our life.
For the time past, meaning before the Most High actually, because who had the circumcision under mind control? The Romans did.
Yeah.
They cared more about what the Romans would do than the Most High. So in all actuality, they feared the Romans. They didn't fear the Most High. You can tell they didn't fear the Most High. They killed his son. And they killed their own prophets. So with the circumcision teaching the Israelites, and the Israelites under the mind control of the circumcision, and the circumcision under the mind control under the Romans, who was really controlling Israel? The Romans. This is the Gentiles that he's referring to here. But the time past of our life have allowed us to have worked the will of the Gentiles. Whatever the Gentiles put down in front of you, you're doing it. You're doing it. It's the same today. You're doing it. Every time I see sisters walking around in spandex pants, I'm like, baby, you got panties on. You got a long pair of panties on walking down the street. They don't understand that. Who give them long panties? The Gentiles. To walk down the street in. This is but their mind don't understand it. This is accessible. This is, pull them up tight, cheek showing, camel foot showing, they out the door. They saying this is just something fast. I'm going to the store. Today I saw a woman standing she's walking, see-through panties on. I could see the pigment of her skin, and I'm in the truck with dirty windows. I'm driving down the street on my way. Just because you get a darker color, that doesn't make them. It's still your underclothes. Sisters, please don't do that. Do not wear stretch pants outside. Those are your panties. Do not do that. Do not do that. You have to have a garment to cover that undergarment up, called a dress or a skirt. That is very modest right there. There's no way back in the day, 40 years ago, take myself to when I was a child, young boy. There's no way 40 years ago, they wasn't wearing them pants, they were wearing stockings. There's no way a woman would come outside only in stockings. And y'all sisters know that this is correct. There's no way no woman would do that. There's no way they would come out in only in stockings. So then they went from all the different light shades to a white stocking. There's no way she would even come outside with white stockings on and no skirt. For the time past of our life have sufficed us, meaning allowed us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles. The Gentiles want you to do everything. They want you to use drugs. They want you to smoke. They want you to be addicted. Israel, you don't see the setup, babies. Y'all like my babies. Y'all don't see the setup. Y'all don't see this. They don't see the setup. They want you to be weak, incapacitated. They want you to be under a spell. You know how they shoot people with their hands up, the fences? They shoot people handcuffed. Somebody just they said he blew his own brains out. His hands was cuffed behind his back. They want you like that. If they killing people like that, why do you think they want you with some form of addiction? They don't want you to wear a belt. I saw a man walking on my way, but it's been an hour at this point. His legs were so far apart, he was walking, trying to keep them up. I'm like, brother. He was walking like this. Then I had to do a double take to see, I was like, brother, what is wrong? Why are you walking like that? This was an older gentleman too. He was older. I was like, man. A young spirit and jumped on him and got him clowning him. Clowning, got him playing himself. Hey man, the will of the Gentiles is everything. Swimming in your nakedness, in your underclothes. The will of the Gentiles. Those of you that you stay on the West Coast, and you want to go swimming, you go out there, this is a swimsuit. No, baby, that's a panty and a bra. You got two-piece panty and a bra. Now, sisters, they had one-piece underclothes that they would sleep in. They used to call it on the lingerie and call them teddies, right? But what was the other name of it? A one-piece sleeper. Or was it just some type of girdle or something? What it was, I've seen, it's very old, so.
I heard a bodysuit.
Now, it didn't have legs in it, and I think it snaps under the crouch.
Okay.
It's okay. It snaps under the crouch, and it's the bottom, and it's the top. Leotard. Okay. Now they're swimming in that. They didn't let people see them in that. You never thought about that. And the scriptures teach us, teach women that they have to be modest. That means you have to have your clothes on. Nobody can be seeing you like that. That's the Gentiles doing that. What happened when David saw somebody in their nakedness? It tempted him to the point where he couldn't resist. He coveted, he conspired, committed the act of cold-blooded murder, committed adultery, then committed murder. The will of the Gentiles is very strong, man. When we walked in lasciviousness, see that? A very strong desire, lasciviousness, lust, access of wine, meaning a lot. The Most High always taught us how to have rulership, power, control, how to not to set bounds. The Most High always taught us to set bounds pertaining to everything that we did. We didn't just get up and start drinking like this until we were taught this example during slavery and in different captivities. All right? And it says revelings. All right. Israel didn't have revelings. Revelry came with the nations. We literally saw this stuff with our eyes. And only harlots would go into the revelry. All right? Go to 2 Maccabees 6. Second Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 1.
2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers.
So these are Romans. Athens is in Rome. Go ahead.
And not to live after the laws of God, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem.
So the Romans, their whole job is to teach us not to live after the laws of the Most High. So all of this stuff that we're doing it because we're seeing others do it. This is the awareness that we have to bring to our people because they really think that they're going to make it. Go ahead.
And to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius.
Right, so to pollute the temple and then to take away, whatever they felt or called it, but to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympus. Now, that's the name that they put on their pools. This is an Olympus-sized swimming pool. Okay? Do they do that on the table too? Olympus-sized pool table? Just keep going.
And that in garrison of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people.
Right, so when they imposed this inside Jerusalem, they knew that it was something that wasn't being done. It was mischief. It was sore and it was grievous to some. I'm sure others enjoy it. Just like now today, you got people that will find this type of behavior mischief. You will find it sore and we will find it grievous like us. But then you have others that embrace it and that enjoy it. Okay? And a lot of times those are the ones that are saying that no matter what they do, only God can judge them and they're going to make it into the kingdom of heaven. Go ahead.
Verse 4. For the temple was filled with riot and revelry.
And revelings. That's what made me bring her, because I know that this is what they were doing. Riot and revelings. Also known today as a party or a clubbing. Go ahead.
By the Gentiles.
By the Gentiles. So when we read in 1 Peter 4, Israel is doing the will of the Gentiles with riot, revelings, drunkenness, lasciviousness. Where did you get that uncontrollable behavior from? Where did those desires come from? It came from the examples that are around you. All these nations taught you to be like that. But by nature, you are a holy people. The Most High created us to be a holy people. That's why, what's today? Tuesday on the Sabbath, when we went over scriptures concerning St. John, and Yahushua was telling Nicodemus, that which is flesh is flesh. You understand? The birth that you got, meaning this world created this monster in you, that's of the world. But the spirit, the Most High, he's going to create a spirit in you that's going to be not of this world. You're going to then begin to hate those things. Okay, go ahead.
Who dallied with harlots.
Who dallied with harlots. So what was inside? What's associated with revelings? Harlots. Harlots. So if you don't want to be associated with being called a harlot, revelry is the last thing that you want to do. Revelings, going out to the banquets, to the clubs, to this, that, and the third, the parties. You don't want to be tied up with that. Okay? Read that part again.
And who dallied with harlots, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places.
And had to do with women. That means that they were actually getting their groove on, having sex right in the temple. Okay? Right in the temple. They were so hot that they couldn't, they burned in their lust one for another. They couldn't, you know. And what do you see in these clubs? People going into the restroom, into the booths, into the stalls. Some people being so drunk, they're right under the table or at the table. And then they got special clubs you got special clubs that's just like this, called strip clubs, with private rooms, massage parlors, and everything. So you Israelites, you should not be going to places like that. You have to remember, you are a holy nation of people. You are not supposed to be doing that. Okay? Go ahead.
And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful.
Right. Go to 1 Corinthians. Not 1 Corinthians, James, I'm sorry. James chapter 1. And verse 21.
James chapter 1 and verse 21. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your soul.
All right, let's look up the word superfluity for now. y'all get it before me, let me know. All right, so it says, an unnecessarily or excessively large amount. Surplus, excess, overload, flood. So in the scriptures say, let us lay aside all filthiness. And so if we just put in some of our synonyms, meaning access or overload, meaning being super naughty, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. So we, instead of being the super predator, like the demon called us, and she called us that because a lot of Israelites, they do go to the extreme. We just feel like, how dare you call us this, that, and the third, and you wicked and evil yourself. Guess it's one of those things to where, you know, we can call each other nigga, but we don't want the whites to call us nigga. You know, if we had called somebody, man, you a super predator, dude, you super wicked, it wouldn't have been no big deal. But because she said it, okay, the Most High just said it right there, super fluty. That's being extreme, super evil wickedness, and receive with meekness this word, which is able to save you. Okay? But be ye doers of the word and not hearers, only deceiving yourself. Here's our point coming up. Read verse 23.
Verse 23. For if any be a hearer of the word.
Right, for any be a hearer of the word. So we all hearing this thing. We got ears. We hearing it. We think about it and we say, okay, go ahead.
And not a doer.
But you don't do it. Go ahead.
He is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass.
Right, so now, just imagine. Teach you this class, we go through these scriptures, you hear certain things that you're not supposed to do, and you say, okay, Khan, meaning yes, I agree. So he's giving you an example of what you like. Remember, you're not going to do it, but you're agreeing to do it. We end up not doing it. Remember, every man is tempted and drawn away of his own lust. So when lust comes, right, you get drawn away. So he's going to compare you to what you just went through. He said, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face, meaning what you really look like in the mirror, in a glass, what you really look like. No mask, no makeup, no this, that, and the third, just your natural face. Go ahead. For he beholded himself.
For he beholded himself and goeth his way.
Right, and goeth his way. So you see yourself and then you leave. Go ahead.
And straightway forget what manner of man he was.
That's just like you go and now you like, how do I look? You forget what it's like. You just forgot what you look like in the mirror, although you just looked in the mirror. That's what it's like to agree that you're going to apply these scriptures, but then you don't. It's like, okay, you forgot that you're supposed to apply the scriptures. Now, no one of us is going to forget what we look like, but he used that as an example to show you. That's how far off we are. Everybody understand that? Nobody's going to look in the mirror and then forget what they look like. Some of you probably thinking like, trying to see yourself. What do I look like? What do I look like? Trying to, right. Man, I can't imagine that. So neither should we be able to imagine us walking away and not doing the thing that we're set out to do. Because if we continue that path and continue to do that, we're actually walking into the trap that the Gentiles set up for you. Go to the book of Judith, the 5th chapter in the Apocrypha. Okay, Judah chapter 5 and verse 21. Get to the point.
Judah chapter 5 and verse 21. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them.
Oh, Slack it. I want verse 20.
Verse 20, Judah 5 and 20.
Right, because like I was saying that we're walking right up into the setup of what the nations want us to do, and we still expect. Because it's like, yeah, it's like having your cake and eat it too. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You just can't, man. You can't have the fruit of the Spirit living in the lust of the flesh. And a lot of people, they want that. They want things to go well with them while they living in the lust of the flesh. You're breaking God's commandments. You're not applying the Most High's word. You're not applying Sabbaths, but you want success inside of the house. It doesn't work out like that. You're going to have to make some sacrifices in order to get the Most High activated into your life. The scriptures say he will be found of them that tempt him not, and will be found of such that do not just trust him. So, although the invisible power that no man have seen, or no man alive can say that they've seen him, you know, the Most High expects you to walk by faith, and however he has brought you through and helped you overcome the situations that you had that was against you, that's the Most High God that gave you the power over sin. We all has been in a place and point before where we was like, hey, I'm addicted to this. I can't stop that. Oh, I have a problem with this. This is out of control. I can't help how I think. I can't help how I feel or what's going on. But when you learn these scriptures and you come into this knowledge of this truth, and then you start following it, you enter into that spiritual agreement with the Most High, the Creator, the Supreme Being. And getting into that agreement, the Most High then, with his Spirit, working with you and inside of you, show you the route and the path to overcome the problem that you couldn't do before. That's God. Then you get the victory over that situation. That's the Most High. And once you realize that, that's what you're supposed to continue to do. But remember, it's a lot, because Israel, we're in a lot of sin. We ain't just got one thing wrong with us. We got a lot of things wrong with us, man. So you got to go from situation to situation, from situation to situation. You got to go through, and it takes a lifetime to go through, and then to continue to maintain good works. Now you got to find somebody that's going down, that's going the way you're going. All that takes time. Because I'm telling you, according to the scriptures, these nations, they want to see you in sin. Judah chapter 5 and verse 20.
Verse 20. Now therefore, my Lord and governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin.
That's going to be your ruin. If you sin against the Most High, that's your ruin. The nations know that. So they give you revelry, liquor stores, religion, disco, strip clubs, weed, crack, heroin, PCP, moxies, mollies, all these different drugs. They give you this. They give you unclean foods, swine to eat, shrimp to eat, make it look good, dip it in melted butter, and then put something lawful by it, a roll, a honey glazed roll. You're like, wow. They give you that. Then they put it in pasta, fettuccine. Ain't nothing wrong with fettuccine, but as soon as you put the shrimp in there, now you got a problem. Because they know that if you sin against your God, that's your ruin. So now all Israel is up under the spell of the nations and their sins. And while we're in sin, we're saying we're going to get into the kingdom of heaven. No, you're not, according to scriptures. Not according to scriptures. We have to work out our indifferences that we have with. Is it the scriptures or is it ourselves? Because it better not be the Most High. And if you say with the scriptures, then that's the Most High. The word represents the Most High. It represents Christ, and Christ represents the Most High. All right. Is that it?
And let us go up, and we shall overcome them.
And that's why we're in the condition that we're in today. Let us go up, and we shall overcome them. Okay? So, did we finish 1 Peter 4? Yes or no? And where was we at before 1 Peter?
That's where we started.
That's where we started. All right, Matthew 7. No, 2nd Ezra 8 is where we started. Or we were supposed to. Second Ezra chapter 8 and verse 1.
Second Ezra chapter 8 and 1. And he answered me, saying, the Most High hath made this world for many, but the world to come for few.
Right. The Most High has made this world for many. And that's why you see any old type of person walking down the street. Men with men, women with women. People walking a Great Dane. The woman's married to the Great Dane. Okay. Same sex bringing up children, confusing a child. Servants out of control, riding on horses, setting themselves up as the government. That is the craziest crap in the world. And it got the nerve to ask us, who's that on the NAD? Oh, man. That is crazy. I don't care how much money they got. We got something better than money. Right, Tam? We got something better than money. We got the spirit of immortality. We've got the laws we got what it takes to run the earth forever, not just for a few hundred years. When we realize that and we stop focusing on materialistic things, we can get out of here. First, we'll be able to deliver and save ourselves from sin. Then we'll be able to set the amazing examples without even really realizing it. You will be such an impact on somebody else's, on their life. Just by your life, you will be inspiring them. And that's how we get out of here. The Most High is going to do the rest. And then once Israel is set up, you're going to see it ain't about the money. The money is a bonus. The wealth is a bonus. It's about actions, how to live and dwell on this earth. I'll give you a precept. It's in Ecclesiastes about the dry morsel. Because it ain't about money. About dwelling. You know where it's at? Bear with me. Maybe Proverbs. About the dry morsel. Yeah. Proverbs 17:1. That's it. Read that. Proverbs 17, verse 1.
Proverbs chapter 17 and 1. Better is a dry morsel.
Right. Better is a dry morsel. A dry morsel, that ain't no food at all. Because it's dried up. And it ain't nothing but a little piece. Go ahead.
And quietness therewith.
Right, and you got quietness. So that represents what through the Spirit the Most High is bringing out to you Israelites. That you're focusing on the wrong thing. You measuring the greatness based upon wealth. And that's not how you're supposed to examine this nation. Because look how the Most High keeps railing on them. Most High call them a dog. The Most High call them dust. The Most High call them spittle. The Most High call them all these things. You the one call them great. You the one call them great. The Most High never said the so-called white man, African, Arab, East Indian. The Most High never said none of these, even the Asians. The Most High said none of these nations were great. You called them great. The Most High saying, check your spirit, man. He says better. Better is a dry morsel. That dry morsel represents you having nothing, but you getting yourself together and fighting and obtain the Spirit of the Most High to set all these examples so that you can raise Israel and we can get up out of here. And while all of this is happening, you ain't going to have nothing. You're going to have a dry morsel. Read.
And quietness therewith.
And quietness. Then Israel going to get calibrate, going to settle down. You're going to have that envy amongst each other, self-hatred. Because remember, Israel is prophesied that Israel's going to stand upon their feet a great army, an army of people. All the tribes of Israel are going to stand up, man, under the Most High, under Christ, serving the Most High. Go ahead.
That an house full of sacrifices and strife.
That a house full of what? Sacrifices. full of strife. Okay? What does the sacrifices represent? The sacrifices doesn't represent somebody giving something up. The sacrifice represents, do we not know and understand, in a spiritual aspect, the Levitical priesthood, what did they do with the sacrifice? They gave some, they did what with the rest? They kept some. They ate some. So in this, what we're using, the sacrifice represents everything that you see their possessions. Their possessions, because the Levitical priesthood, they ate of the sacrifice. They ate it, man. You'd bring that shoulder there. You ever seen a cleaver? Boy, they take a cleaver and they whack that piece of meat. And that part, this part I keep. This part I'm burning. They ate of the sacrifice. So now the sacrifices, if we correlate this with America today, it's full of sacrifices. You see they got their chest stuck out behind brand new cars, behind brand new buildings, behind clothing line, behind every little scheme that they put together, success. Dun, dun, dun. Everything is working for us. But it's full of strife. Full of strife. Gains with strife, correct. Gains with strife. They backstabbers. They have no knowledge of the Most High. You ain't never seen them, like when they're gonna go for office, you haven't never seen them be at peace. They always have to tear one another down to try and convince somebody else that this person should not lead you because he once did this and he did that and he lied this. They always bring out, that's full of strife, man. But that's what we envy. That's what has to change. We can't desire that. So when you read 1st, 2nd Ezra 8, the Most High said all of that. This world, you're going to see everything that you see in this world. But these things, the world to come is for very, very few. Not that many people. Verse 2, 2nd Ezra 8 and verse 2.
I will tell thee a similitude.
So now he's going to give you a similitude, Ezra, about the Savior and the salvation that's going to come. Who's going to live, who's not, who's going to go to heaven, and who's not going to go to heaven. Go ahead.
As when thou askest the earth, it shall say unto thee, that it giveth much more whereof earthen vessels are made, but little dust that gold cometh of.
Right, the mold is not talking about mold and mildew. It's not talking about that. It's just referring to when you ask the earth, can you speak into the ground and it just tells you what's under it and what's in it and where to dig? No, you'd have to go and dig it for yourself. So that's what he's referring to. He's referring to, if you start digging, the common things that you're going to find rock, clay, mud, different forms of dirt. That's all you're going to find. You're going to find boatloads of that. And even if you go to different areas, then it might bring forth other stuff, different forms of metal and stuff like that. Depends on where the Most High put it. But little dust that gold cometh of. So you're not going to find, and that's how it is. Gold comes in very, very little dust. It comes in very, very small pieces. There are some chunks, nuggets, but for the most part, it's in the form of dust, and that's why they have to screen it like that. Okay, a good example of it it had never been formed before or anything. Y'all, have any of y'all ever saw that show, Gold Rush? Right, where those Edomites they go to the Yukon, they go to different parts in the earth, and they excavate. I mean, they pretty much uncover acres, acres. Maybe 50 acres or so. That's a lot of, that's a lot. And they set up the big machine, and it gets rid of the rocks, and it all panned down to something maybe the size of every time, maybe this table or half the table, and then they have to wash that down, and they see little gold specks, dust. That's how the Most High put the gold into the earth. So before we ever saw that, how do we know this book is real? Before we ever saw that, this was wrote in here. That gold is in the form of dust. Then they gather it out because it is a sliver. They gather all those little silver slivers together and put them in glass jars and just weigh it. And they turn it on the scale and weigh it, and it come up in ounces. It says 10 ounces. That might be 100 grand. $1,000 an ounce, pure gold. That might be 100 grand. So they'd be out there trying to get 50 ounces, 500,000, 100 ounces, $1 million. They'd be out there trying, they'd be out there trying to get it. But you can't find that every place. What's up, Marty? You can't find that every place. Go dig in your backyard. Bet you ain't gonna find none. You just keep digging and digging and digging. You children don't go tear your lawn up. I'm gonna find some, Sham. No, you're not. You're gonna get a whooping. You're gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna find some. I saw it in their eyes. Like, we can find some. See? No. I'm gonna find some. No, you're not gonna find none, man. So, we stop at 2nd Ezra chapter 8, and the last precept of 2, it says, even so is what the course of this present world, meaning the way it is in life. All right, that's how it is. Verse 3, there be many created, but few shall be saved. See that? So there's a lot of people created, but not that many people are going to be saved. So we gotta, is something that you're doing questionable? I ask us here today, without showing hands or a look on your face. The Bible says, examine yourself, whether you're in the faith. Know you not your own selves, because if you don't, you're going to end up being a reprobate. It's something you're doing questionable. Like, am I doing the right thing? Are you skating a thin line because you're not really sure? I tell you the rule I go by: when in doubt, go without. And I know that's very hard, because if you don't know, your mind will then try and persuade you and convince you. The Bible says more than 7 men that sit in a high tower, they ain't got nothing to do what converse. They're trying to convince you, they're trying to persuade you. 7 men in a conversation, that's how persuasive your mind will be. Trying to convince her and persuade you that go ahead and do it. It's gonna pan out. It's gonna be lawful. I know they don't see it. They don't see it, but you see it, don't you? You see it? Yeah. I see it. That's the mind deceiving you. The Most High said it's corrupt. It's wicked above all things. Who could know it? And desperately wicked. Don't, when in doubt, go without. All right? So answered I and said, swallow down then, and my soul understanding and devour wisdom. For thou hast agreed to give ear and are willing to prophecy. For thou hast, this is a good point, for thou hast no longer space than only to live. We know what that means? So, you know, the scriptures say, for some have turned aside into vain jangling. You don't have that time. When the Most High come to you, the jangling is up. Do you understand that? Yes. It's up. Just think about all the things that we did. Go back down memory lane. 10 seconds of memory lane, then I'm going to stop it so you don't get caught tripping. Just think about all the stuff that you did. Got 2 seconds left. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Come on back. Come on back. The law's in place. The laws are in place. Now, since we did go there, you can't live the life. You can't live that life that you had. You can't go there no more, man. You can't go there no more. Nope. So at this point, when the Most High came to you, you got, like Ezra said, he realized that. For thou hast, no, this is the angel telling him. This is the Most High telling him through the angel. For you have agreed to give ear. You agreed to give ear, to humble yourself, and are willing to prophecy, and you're willing to speak up and set an example and prophesy. You're willing to do all of that. We agreed. Now he's telling them, for you have no longer space to live in the past than only to live. So you can only live now. So the vain jangling is up. You know, the things that you did in ignorance, the things that you did, we know, right? We know. You can't do it no more. You ain't got time for that. You're going to miss out. You're going to have to stop. You're going to miss out. You can't turn aside. If you turn aside, that's going to be your life. The Lord said, the Bible says that the Most High said, he that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain. Let's get that. What's going to happen if we wander out of the way? Go to the book of Proverbs. Chapter 21 and verse 16.
This is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 16.
Right.
The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding.
Right, so if you go back, if you turn aside, the woman, I'm like Stella. Stella went back to get her groove on. We can't be like Stella and Steve, man. Stella and Steve. We can't go back. We can't go back. All right? The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding, go ahead.
Shall remain.
Shall remain. Damn. You see that? The Bible just said if you go back, you're going to remain. You're going to get stuck there because that force is so strong. It's so strong. You're going to be like, wow, I've been missing this. You're going to be like, I remember this. Experience associated with that. Let me see my children up here. Let me tell y'all something, man. Make sure my kids ain't online either. I came up in the street. I came up in the street, real trouble. I'm settled right now. I'm settled. I try to be very passive because I was the total opposite. So when I read about Paul, I kind of think about myself. Very injurious, was on the deep end. So the only way not to go there is not to go there, because you get sucked in. But this remember, I have to teach from experience. So it reminds me, like I was always sober, but I think when I was young, like in high school, I tried briefly. And then like maybe, so I stopped, because it was just kind of whack. I think somebody corrected me, and this wasn't even in truth. It was like one of my friends, his brother. I think I was doing it thinking that it was cool or something like that. And his brother corrected me and told me that I looked it bad. And so I went home and looked in the mirror, and I said, damn, I did look bad, so I stopped. So a few years after that, I hooked up with this girl, and I was hanging out with her, and she was smoking, but she knew that I didn't smoke. And for some reason, I just got sucked in, and I was like, let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. And when I did it, I was like, wow, I felt different. I was like, I remember you, and that's the craziest shit, that's the craziest thing. I remember you. It's like I was like a spirit. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a spirit associated with smoking weed, man. That's a spirit. That's demons. And I was like, I remember you. And you will get so addicted unto that. You will get so addicted until that spirit possess you, because you'll be thinking there ain't nothing wrong with it. But again, I shook it. I got it up off of me. So I had to share that with you. I mean, my children, dad ain't never did that, because I don't, they down there watching. Yeah. Oh, why you didn't tell me? Hey, because I don't want nobody to, you see, listen, what y'all don't understand is, look at the influence that rap music got on us. Do you know, I used to drink. Want me to tell you, Tanqueray, who used to drink that Tanqueray? Okay. I only drank that listening to Tupac. What's that song nigga was riding, niggas talking about what's that song?
I can't remember.
It's in the green bottle.
Yeah, and he mentioned it.
I only was drinking it because he said he drunk it. You are leaving an example with what you do and what you say. You got to be careful. You got to be careful what you say, man. Because people will be like, oh, Tam, is this on downstairs? Okay. People will be like, oh, he did it. He did it. I can do it. I came up out of it. The Most High got me through it. I was foolish. I was ignorant. I didn't know. If you follow some example that you hear, you might get addicted and be a drunk. You might get addicted and get hooked and stay that way. So Israel, y'all remember that. Because the stuff that I live, the life I'm living now of solitude from worldly, carnal, worldly lust, man, ungodliness, I do it for two reasons, man. I do it because I'm trying to make the kingdom, and secondly, I don't want to disappoint anybody walking this earth. So I'm doing it because I don't want to teach anybody anything wrong, ever, man. And when you get to that point, you really gonna be doing a good justice for your people. That's how you serve your people, man. You know. But so where was we at? So 2 Ezra 8 and 5. You don't have time to turn aside. No, because if you turn aside, you're gonna remain. You're gonna remain there. You can get stuck there. You can get stuck there. You already been there, and you enjoyed it, and then it was a job putting you up out of there. We're gonna close, but we're gonna get some work real quick before we get up out of here. Real quick. Read that again for him.
Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
Right, you're going to remain in the congregation of the dead. So that means that you wandered out of the way of understanding, and then you got stuck. You got stuck. And it took work to get you. Let's go to Zechariah. It took work to get you up out of there, man. The Most High knows that it took work to get you up out of there. That's why grace might not cover that. It's going to take a judgment to get you to see. The book of Zechariah, chapter 3. In verse 1.
Zechariah chapter 3 and verse 1. And he showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuked thee.
Right, the Lord rebuked thee. Now Satan ain't a demon that you gonna see. Right, Satan ain't a demon you gonna see. Satan is in somebody. But the Most High said to Satan, the Lord rebuked thee, O Satan. Go ahead.
Even the Lord that had chosen Jerusalem rebuked thee.
Go ahead.
Is not this
It's not this. He's talking about Joshua. Yeah. It's not this. Go ahead.
A brand plucked out of the fire.
Right. What's up with the fire? Yeah. Tried in the furnace, man. You put somebody that's tried in the furnace of adversity, and they brought out, they clean, man. So Joshua was like that. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Go ahead.
Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments. Right.
Joshua was clothed. So they looking spiritually, man, with filthy garments on. What did that represent? Man, that represents all the sin that he'd been putting in work dealing with Israel. Yeah. Now his garments was filthy. The stuff that he'd been through, the stuff he overcame, the stuff that he taught. Joshua been through a lot, man. Remember, whose shoes did he fill? Yeah. Whose shoes did he fill, congregation? Moses. That's right. Moses. Now you think the Most High gonna just fill them shoes, the meekest man that's on the face of the earth, with just any old body? Some American Negro? Hell no. Joshua put in work, man. That's what all of you brothers and sisters gotta do. You're gonna have to get dirty. You're gonna have to get in there, man. You're going to have to sacrifice, man. You're going to have to stop being you. Remember the 10 seconds that we went through? We thought, nah, you can't do that. No more. You got only time to live. That's it. You can't be about the past. You can't wander that way. You ain't going to make it. You got to be like this brother here, putting in work. When you go anywhere and you got something nice on, the last thing you want to do is work because you're like, I'm going to get something on this. Yep. So dealing with people, you going to get something on you. This is what I'm saying. You don't have time to turn to the side. You got to put in work. You're going to have to get dirty. Read that part again.
Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments, and stood before the angel.
Go ahead.
And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with change of raiment.
That's right. All right. First Timothy 1. First Timothy 1 and verse 4, it says, Neither give heed to fables, okay, and endless genealogies, which minister questions, but rather than godly edifying, which is in faith, so do. Now the end of the commandment is charity, out of a pure heart, and of a good conscience, and faith unfeigned. Okay, so you cannot you stop renewing your faith in the Most High. It says, from which some have swerved, have turned aside unto them 10 seconds. Now it ain't 10 seconds no more. Now it become a life to them. You know, Matthew 7. As we go, I'm going to tell y'all about this movie. It's A Long Kiss Goodnight. A Long Kiss Goodnight with Samuel Jackson and this Edomite. Anybody saw that before? The movie buff ain't saw that? In this movie, this Edomite, she gets amnesia. She gets amnesia, right? Because maybe she was in a car accident. And so she begins to, when she gets out of the hospital, she lives a different life. You saw her, sis? Okay, good, my sis. She lives a different life. Remember, she's living this different life. And, she got married, met a man, got married, had 2 children, this, that, and the third. She's cooking, so on and so forth. But somebody else sees it. The part that I'm inquiring about, do you remember something jarred her memory? When her memory got jarred, I guess when they saw her in the parade, and then they blows the house up, and she goes into beast mode. Once she goes into beast mode, her mind clicked, and she like, I'm gonna get back to my old life. I'm gonna get back to normal. This, that, and the third. I constantly think about that when people, they in this truth, and soon as they get a little taste, they get a little taste of sin, they think that I'm going back to what they want to call normal. That ain't normal. That has always been sin. That has always been off. That ain't gonna never make it. You can't make it with that cup that you drinking from. That cup is a cup of wrath that's gonna come poured without mixture from the Most High. You understand? But that scene right there, man, that woman, her mind clicked. It's spirits in Hollywood for real. For real, it experience in Hollywood. You see how they can just make themselves cry. They can be dramatic. They can be emotional. They can be in love. You can think they're a real family. You can think they're a real couple. You can think that they're a real star. You can think that they're real anything. Israel, you cannot turn aside to vain jangling. You do not have no time at all. You just got time to live. That's what the Most High is saying. Matthew 7. You can start the communion, I got it. Matthew 7 and verse 13. It says, enter ye in at the strait gate. You know what strait is? Strait means strict. Yes. You got two gatekeepers. Gate. You got two gatekeepers. One gate is right here. One gate, laws, statutes, commandments, do's, don't do's, is repetitively, consecutively being said over and over and over and over and over nonstop. But somebody else, the other gatekeeper, is saying, come as you are. Don't worry about none of that. That's done away with. Christ took care of everything. Just live, be happy, enjoy the fruits of the land. Your neighbor is everybody. You can go and do America. You understand? Daisy does America. You can go and do whatever, whomever, however, do what you want to do. On this side and this gate is strict as hell. You can't do nothing. You can't even groom the way that you want to groom. Because when you were before here, you was doing whatever you wanted to do. But when you came into the gate of the Lord, that don't languish no more. It appears to be very strict. What does strait means? Narrow. Narrow. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth unto destruction. And many there be which go in thereat. So, right, a lot of people go into that because they say, wait a second. To go into that strait gate, it takes sacrifice. It takes too much change. Who gonna go through all of that? It takes too much change. I'm not changing this. You mean to tell me? See, we grew up in America, and in America, you can do what you want. God bless America. That's how they be. God bless America. And as we bless in America, and we're asking for everybody to get into this kingdom of the Most High, did we ever think about the people, our parents, that brought us into it, what they went through, what they sacrificed, and how the parents of the people that we serve up under now, how they treated our parents in their time period? Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner. Did they want their oppressors? What about our parents that was in chains on the boats that was coming over here? Was they blessing America and wanting those people to be a part of the kingdom as well? Or is it just us? Because now they have a use for us as far as entertainment and sex exploitations and etc. and work in their shops. That's the wide gate. And the Lord said, when it says the many is talking about Israel. The other people are already out there. They're already out there. Because the Most High he never gave them the commandments to even follow. I'll show you something that the Lord said about these people. Ezekiel 3. Let's speed it up, Israel. Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 5. It says, "For thou art not sent unto a people of a strange speech." Look at what the Most High told Ezekiel. "And of a hard language, but to the house of Israel." Verse 6, Ezekiel 3, verse 6. Because our point is in here. Pay attention to it. "Not to many of a strange speech." Remember, he said, "I'm not sending you to many of a strange speech and of a hard language, whose words thou canst not understand," meaning the other nations. "Surely had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto you." The Most High never sent Israel to the other nations to prophesy unto them. He sent Israel to prophesy to Israel, and they may be amongst other nations, but he never sent Israel to the other nations. From there, go to the book of St. John. John chapter 7 and verse 35. It says, I'll start at verse 34. "Ye shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come. Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither shall he go that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed amongst the Gentiles?" So the circumcision would ask, the Jews was asking, are he going to go into the dispersed amongst the Gentiles? Because just like we just said, like I just said, according to Ezekiel 3, the Most High, he never sent Israel out to the other nations, or he might have sent Israel to Israel that was among other nations. I'll read it again. Verse 35. "Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither shall he go that we cannot find him? Will he go into the dispersed amongst the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?" So the Jews were calling the dispersed what? Gentiles. Okay, Gentiles. So now that shows you, that proves you that the Most High didn't deal with these other nations. All right? And that when you go back to Matthew chapter 7 and verse 13, the latter precept, "And many there be that go in thereat," that's talk about Israelites. Because the statement was made, the other nations, they already out there. Yes, they're already out there. Verse 14. "Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life." So Israelites, we have to narrow our way completely down. We have to narrow our way completely down. Okay? And the things that you having issues and problems and troubles with, you must pray to the Most High to give you the spirit to trust in him, that things are going to be okay. You must fast for your problems that has gotten out of hand. Not getting, it's got there. You must fast for your problems. You must take counsel for your problems. And when you get the counsel, then follow the instructions. Don't take the counsel, and if it goes against what you was minded to do, then all that counsel, that ain't no good. That's not what you do. It's normal to be under restrictions. All right. Last one, Matthew 11 Matthew 11 and 29. Before you get it, y'all you can read it, but before you read it, I wanted to look the definition up for him of yoke. Okay, yoke definition. It says a wooden crosspiece that is fastened over the necks of two animals and attached to a plow or cart that they are to pull. So the synonyms: harness, collar, something of that sort. All right, so now read it.
Matthew 11 and 29. Take my yoke upon you.
Take my yoke. So now, when Yahushua in his time, he's only relating to, because he taught in parables, to what he saw. And so the definition, it says a wooden crosspiece that is fastened over the necks of two animals attached to the plow or to the cart. And you know that that animal is doing work. They out there plowing the field. So when Christ is saying, take my yoke upon you, so when you take the yoke of Christ and put it on you, now you got, instead of plowing the field, now you got the harvest. Like it says in Luke 10, the harvest truly is great, but the labors are few. You got plenty of people that want to labor, that pretend to labor, but are they actually being that complete sacrifice and qualifying as a true labor of the Most High in Christ? Truly. Are they feeding their belly while being in the truth? Feeding their belly with their own lust? Or are they actually abstaining themselves from worldly and ungodly lusts? So take the yoke of Christ and put it upon you and learn, he said. Learn of me. So now you have to do what he has done. So if he's saying that, listen, straight is the way, and straight is the gate, and narrow is the way. So that's what you'd expect. It's okay. Remember, he give you fellowship of the Spirit. So by giving you fellowship of the Spirit, he give you people that is, you know, get somebody, I'm yoked with you, brother. You understand? I'm yoked with you. I'm sharing this burden with you. We're going to do this thing together. It's always good to work with somebody. Woe unto him that is alone. You don't have to be alone in this thing unless you choose to be. You know, I always talk about and encourage Israel to, if you got to migrate, move. You did it for college. Oh yeah, brother, I went to Wisconsin and did this. Oh yeah, I went to Harvard and in New York City. Where you stay at? You stay on the other side of the country? Yeah, I went there and studied this, then. Okay. But yes, I'm out here by myself. I'm like, oh, you by yourself? Oh. But you went to learn, you went to learn from Esau about Esau. But you won't, for the Most High and for your own sanity, go to the Most High for the fellowship of the Spirit. Find a creme to understand it. For I am meek and lowly in heart. Meek meaning a serious and obedient. Not eek, eek, not quiet, but meek. And lowly meaning he's not a high-minded person. And ye shall find rest for your souls. Because the soul wants to know, am I going to enter into the kingdom of God? That's what the soul wants to know. At the end of my life, am I going to resurrect in the kingdom? Or am I going to get judged to death? Judged to eternal death. That's what the soul wants to know. The only way to find that out is to put that yoke upon you, man. Learn of Christ and walk in Christ. Okay, just for your notes, Psalms 94 and 20. Matthew 26. Matthew 26 and 6. Now, when Christ was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Yahushua understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought the good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For ye did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman have done be told for memorial of her. So why? This was a sister that was in sin. Why did Christ say, wherever the gospel is to be preached, tell the thing that this woman have done? Hey, because she was a person that was in sin, that repented, that she brought forth a broken and a contrite heart, meaning a heart that was ready to go completely opposite of what she had been doing. So Christ said, tell the story of this sister. Okay? Wherever this gospel is to be preached. So just because she humbled herself, Christ exalted this sister. All right? All right. Now the communion, which Christ said for us to do it in remembrance of him, 1 Corinthians 11:23. It says, For I received of the Lord that which also I delivered unto you, that Hamashiach Yahushua, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he come. So Yahushua is saying that when we do this communion, we are actually showing that we are continuing in the faith. What happens if you stop fellowshipping? Do you think you're going to be doing communion? Nope. You see? All right. So we have to continue to fellowship and continuing to communion because we're showing the Lord's death. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink of this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. So we can't even be fraudulent. We can't be pretending. We have to be applying the heart, the soul, and the spirit, the mind, the energy, the effort. We have to go all out. Okay? Beast mode. You have to give it everything. Here's the time when you want to shine. You ever wanted to be participant in something, but we didn't get involved, we wasn't chosen, this, that, and the third. So the Most High picked us up. The Most High chose us. Now here, in this truth, apply yourself. Show up and show out. Keep the faith, keep the commandments, do everything the best, do it, okay? So, but let a man examine himself, so let him eat of their bread and drink of their cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily, eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, meaning a judgment, not discerning the Lord's body. So the Lord wants you to care about your walk in him, and he wants you to care about your walk amongst others. Okay? For this cause many are weak and sickly, and many sleep. For not keeping it, what you youngsters want to say, keeping it real. That's where all the problems come in at. Us having a weak spirit, a sickly spirit. And the Most High give us a reprobate mind to where some just turn backwards. Or death. Death be fallen upon Israel. For if we would judge ourselves, we should not be judged. How do you judge yourself? Stop yourself. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Wreck yourself. Better check yourself. So you got to stop, Israel, to avoid being judged. If we would judge ourselves, we should not be judged. But when we are judged, so we continue without stopping, and the Most High has to judge us, we are chastened. See, that goes with what was said earlier. It didn't say we are given more grace and more correction and more time, and while you scratch your scalp, this, that, and the third. No. It's time to judge you so he can get some obedience out of you. We are chastened of the Lord that we should not be condemned with the world. That goes with what was said earlier. Everybody understand and see that? Okay, so all praises. Most High in the name of Christ, thank you for the food and drink. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so this is body which is broken for you. All repentant Israelites should be doing the communion, okay? This is blood. Okay, Israel, so we made it. All praises. I to mention, and I'll mention until we get it done. First, y'all know the new moon is Friday, right? All praises. It's Friday. Look at them. Y'all love the feast days, don't you? Let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question. VJ, my man, what do you like about the feast day?
That we get to play games and stuff, so and we get to have fun and eat together.
Good, all praises. That's what you should say. That's what you should acknowledge. All right, Francisco, what you like about the feast day, brother?
Basically spend things and get to hang out with everybody.
Okay. And Trevon, what you like about the feast days?
They congregate and keep the Lord.
Boy, them future prophets right there. We're gonna be leaning on canes, and they gonna be. Yeah, man, and that's how I feel. Exactly what y'all said. If I was somebody asked me that, I would have said exactly. I love to congregate, fellowship, and the food. I think the fellowship. I mean, the food is always spectacular. You understand? I think the vegan side might have fell short once or twice, but hey, you can't win every time. But I think I take the the fellowship for, I guess personally, always over the food. I love to be with the body. I love to be with the body. It's always a good time. It's always a good time. So we got that coming up, and listen, Israel, our extended family, we definitely could use some help. The immediate family, we have interior things going on that we already, needs and stuff that we constantly satisfy. We've been building for that. That's one thing. But you brothers and sisters that are extended family of the General Assembly, we're asking you for a free will alms offering because we are trying to update our sound equipment. The sound equipment that we have right now, I'm really ashamed to just say, hey, we are really living humble. For real. That's an understatement. I watched the video and it was just buzzing and humming the whole time. I could not believe that it did that. One of the brothers said that he thought it was a generator. Nah, brother, that was the speaker. And it's a little guitar speaker. That's what that is. So we definitely could use some help. So y'all out there, please don't hesitate. Don't think twice. We need speakers. All right. And then this little speaker that we use to in here, the battery is going out on that. It has to stay plugged up. If we unplug that and use that for about 15 minutes, it's wiped out. So, and that ain't even this is for an indoor thing. This ain't even for outdoor speaking. So, we need some equipment. And to aid and assist, we reach out to our beloved, asking y'all to help a hand. Now is the time. If you wanted to give an offering, now will be the time for a good cause. It ain't gonna sit aside. It's going to go for a good cause. And I think so far, I don't know, so far we might have close to $300. But that's not enough. Want some good stuff, preferably some new stuff. I like warranties and all of that type of stuff. Warranty. You buy some used stuff and it goes out, you back to square one. You get some new stuff, all you gotta do is take care of it. And you know it's gonna last for some years, so. All right, so that's it. Let's go. Okay, Marty, I will inbox you. And if I forget, inbox me. Say, yo, brother, remember I said I was gonna send an offering. Okay, Israel,
If every man was just like me, what kind of sanctuary would this be?
Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6 and 9. Our Father Yahweh, Hashem Mashak Yahweh Shai, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
The laborers' prayer, Luke 10 and 2. Therefore said he unto them, the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray therefore the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. Bless you, Most High, King of heaven and earth, and all things Most High. In the name of the Christ, send more disciples and teachers to your harvest, to gather your people Israel, and send counsel behind your laws. Establish for thy people Israel. Give to us strength to break down our lives with thy word. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
The blessing of Israel, Numbers chapter 6 and 24. Children of Israel, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift his countenance upon thee, give thee peace. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Make children of Israel bless one another.
Most High, in the name of Christ, bless you all. Hey, Greg.
There are 1.
All right, Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Y'all have a beautiful evening, rest of the night. See y'all soon on Thursday, all right? Shalom, Miss Tony. ATL. Shalom, sis. All praises, Mrs. Aswell. All praises.